Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, thank you very much for talking to 101 East. We have been travelling around the country for a few days, trying to gauge the temperature of the electorate, if you like. Firstly, the issue of freedom of speech. There have been a number of attempted rallies in Kuala Lumpur over the past few months, which have been denied permission to take place, and there have been some scuffles, a little bit of unpleasantness, if I can put it that way. And people are asking, why is it that the government is so cautious about public rallying?
Because most of the demonstrations that they have organized are demonstrations in the nature of street demonstrations, and when there are street demonstrations, there's very little control about what's likely to happen. And as you know, some of the demonstrations that they have organized have resulted in some physical clashes. There is, of course, the risk, notwithstanding, the risk of, in terms of affecting businesses and all that. But there's also the risk that could spark off retaliatory demonstrations by others who are opposed to some of the issues carried by some other groups.
I understand your concerns, but there are grades, surely, of this. And let me put the Hindraf rally that took place fairly recently as an example. You say demonstration. They would call it a rally, with the point of trying to present a petition to the Prime Minister at Parliament. There can't have been more than 500, 600, 700 people there. And yet the force of police that turned out against them was much, much higher in numbers. And the reaction to them was almost immediate. Now, where is the threat from an issue like that?
The threat can come from, first of all, that the people get involved in this, may resort to throwing stones and things like that. That actually happened in the Batu Caves area, organized by Hindraf. That's one. And secondly, there's also the danger that other groups, for example, the Malays in Kampung Baru, may get quite agitated, and they may organize their demonstrations, and this could lead to something very serious in terms of a multiracial society.
Would it be a different approach to facilitate the demonstration and allow it to disperse as quickly as possible?
We leave it to the police to manage things. It's very much a police matter, because internal order is very much a police matter. We don't actually give explicit instructions to the police. Let them decide what's the best way to control the situation.
The police obviously have control over the actual event itself. The government has control over issuing of permits and acceptance for various demonstrations.
Well, actually, I want to correct you. The issuance of permit is actually decided by the police. And for your information, in the state of Terengganu, for example, there were, last year, I think there were about 200 public rallies organized by the opposition, another 200 without permits. So there are many instances in which the police have allowed their rallies to continue, despite the fact that they've not, obtained the necessary permits from the police.
Do the same considerations apply to political speeches and political rallies? The former Deputy Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has complained often that genuine political gatherings for the purpose of disseminating information are denied permits, and in fact
no,
tried
not quite.
to be
As I said, I gave you an example. I mean, the state of Terengganu, there were more rallies organized by the opposition, and in fact, rallies that did not get police permits, were actually allowed by the police. They were not broken up by the police. So there is a great deal of latitude given in our society. And in fact, the opposition parties have started their political rallies or campaigns ever since the last general election ended. For a period of 4 years, they've been going down to the ground.
Let me ask you about your view of the local media. Many complaints are made not only against the media, but within the media itself, that they are not allowed to report on, and often don't report on, issues that might be of significance. Do you think there's free speech in the media, or?
I think it's quite open now. For example, the alternative media is very active in this country.
And often quite oppressed, isn't it not?
No, it's not. You go through the internet, the various websites and the blogs, you find an awful lot of the material there is actually very, very, critical of the government, and this has been allowed. We also have opposition papers owned by the opposition parties. For example, PAS has its own newspaper, Keadilan has its own newspaper, DAP has its own newspaper.
So is it the government position that bloggers are free to write what they wish?
Oh yes.
Completely.
Except, of course, if you break the laws of the country. If what you write can be construed as seditious, then it's different.
That's a very broad
I know, but it's
there,
a very, very, a lot of latitude given. I tell you, the kind of things that are written in the internet, it's just mind-boggling.
The Hindraf leaders who've been arrested, some of them, the charge of sedition have been laid against them with very little apparent backup to that. Is there any intent to bring charges of sedition against these people, or do they deserve to be held at the moment as they are?
I think the general reaction has been quite positive in terms of using the Internal Security Act.
The reaction?
Yes.
From whom?
From the public in Malaysia. The general reaction has been positive because that has led to quite de-escalation in terms of all the activities that's going on in this country, the street demonstrations. People feel that the government has been too liberal, if you like, and people want a semblance of stability in this country.
So a lot of people would say the government hasn't been liberal enough.
No, on the quite contrary, we have been very liberal in this country.
Let me move on to one of the other issues on people's minds, and that is the conduct of the actual electoral process. And the group that calls itself Bersih has provided us with some details here about what they say are anomalies in the whole process. Do you think that the registration and the voting practices are completely clean?
Yes, it's very transparent and it's very fair. We have lost, as you know, we've lost elections before. In fact, the entire state of Kelantan today is controlled by PAS, and the present state government has survived for a number of years on the basis of having one seat more than the Barisan Nasional. And that one seat which they won by a majority of 2.
But
so if Bersih claim that the process it's not fair and it's not transparent, and we have the means of exploiting the election results, don't tell me we cannot find 3 more votes, to change that.
Well, what then about the numbers? I mean, I have here a list of at least 100 people over the age of 100 years registered on the voter list, one of whom is 129, which would make it a world record.
I tell you what, the list is not in a sense that people who have died in the past. It's possible that the names are still there, but they will not be the ones, they will not appear as voters, because the opposition parties also have polling agents. They can verify this.
There have been instances where dead people have turned up to vote.
Well, let us find out, and then bring it up to the SPR, to the Election Commission.
The DAP recently called this the most important election in Malaysia's history because they perceive a very strong move towards a greater Islamicization of what is theoretically a secular state, and they're worried about issues which marginalize those who are not Muslims. Do they have a reason to be concerned?
No, we have not changed the fundamental policies, but the irony of it is that they have some sort of political understanding with PAS, which has a much more Islamic agenda. I mean, they want to turn Malaysia to become a theocratic Islamic state, which we don't have that agenda.
That
and
is,
yet,
that is
the
ironic
irony
indeed.
is that they are political partners of DAP.
And yet, what does that tell you? Does that suggest that they are so desperate that they would get into bed with
Yes,
anybody?
absolutely. It's just a political ploy on the part of DAP, you see. I mean, how can you present to the electorate when you cannot even agree on a common policy, let alone a common symbol? They don't even have a common symbol. So really, they're not really an alternative to the present Barisan Nasional.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.